What are you doing on here?
EA. It's in the game. Or is it? Video games made by EA can be really good, but they can also be pretty questionable and sometimes downright manipulative and shady. There's a lot of dialogue floating out there claiming that EA is just in a whole bunch of trouble, and a lot regarding why or why not we should hate EA as a company. Zealous gamers across the globe have every right to be mad at a company who appears to have jumped off the live gaming deep end after years of fantastic game making. They have definitely mishandled their popular key titles. It's a company that has made mistakes, bitten off more than they can chew, and one that often turns the cold shoulder to the best interest of those it directly provides to. But the water is a little bit deeper than that. It's not simply a question of if EA is the worst company in the world, but it's more about this shift that they've made towards being more profitable. There's a happy medium I believe EA has kind of forgotten about lately, one where they can be both sustainable and well-liked at the same time. Still, a forever question looms quietly over the horizon. How do we bring about the change we so desperately want from Electronic Arts if they are unwilling to do it? Today we're going to look at the untold story of EA in 2018. We're going to look beyond the gaming, crunch the important numbers, and discover the position EA is in as a video game provider. Upon its inspection, it will give us a clear direction for how to interact with this once great publishing giant. This is Trip Hawkins. He founded EA in 1982 during the 8-bit era when games were being made by single developers, sometimes out of their garages. It was a simple time unaffected by the massive Goliaths that would reign over the industry as corporate publishers into the future. EA had a vision. It saw the hundreds of budding developers vying for a spot in the booming video game industry. It saw the cash problem, developers having the talent but needing the resources to bridge the gap between idea and execution. The solution was to consolidate this industry into a system of money exchange where developers would do the work and publishers would provide the guidance and financial backing to make new video games happen. It was no longer necessary to do everything on your own. Over the last 35 years, the AAA industry took this idea and grew it into what we now call the developer-publisher relationship. And it has evolved into a very, very well-oiled machine. The publisher is the face, and the developer does the dirty work, and usually the publisher is in the spotlight. If you get a chance to walk into the office of EA in Redwood City, California, you might be surprised. It's a very clean, quiet, giant building with people walking to and fro, name badges clattering against their button-up shirts as they pass through endless security barriers on all sides of the building. There's no dungy corridors or people screaming at each other. The tranquility of this big glass dome hums along quietly and efficiently as designers walk around with their cappuccinos freshly made by the Starbucks located nearby in the atrium. It doesn't really remind you of a video game studio. As someone who grew up in the late 90s, this atmosphere reminds me of kind of a Google or an Apple campus, not a video game publishing team, and that is representative of the change in today's video game world. EA has become a factory, a very efficiently run ecosystem living effortlessly off its own habitat. In the words of Trip, they've gotten really good at cranking out video games. For years, the suit and ties at EA have done this, and they have expanded their empire beyond all recognition. But did it all come to a breaking point in 2017? Is gaming's most notorious publisher in trouble this year as well, given the backlash of the living video game model, Battlefront 2's travesty, and the unsettling future of Anthem? If you scrounge around Reddit and gaming journalism websites, you'll probably find a lot of EA is dying or EA is in trouble videos and articles. But in reality, I haven't seen any one of those backed up by anything more than just opinion. So let's look at the data straight from EA to answer those questions. We know that their gross profits is at an all-time high. This debunks the claim that EA is about to hit a financial meltdown. We know that their stock price is also at an all-time high. This washes away the idea that EA won't have the support it needs to continue running normal business. We know that their total set bookings, of which is a fancy word for sales, are rising and also at an all-time high. This shows us that EA is improving year over year. We know that EA's liquidity, again, is at an all-time high. This lays waste to the claim that EA doesn't have the money to support its developers. And we know that EA's game downloads, live services, and mobile sales have never been higher. So no, EA is not in trouble from a financial position. I can show you a whole bunch more charts and graphs and spreadsheets from EA's corporate reports, but I'm not gonna bore you anymore. So how is this happening, even though everyone on the internet is saying EA is in trouble? Take a good look at this graph again. The hard truth is that EA's non-stop success is actually attributed to this little green bar. It looks so innocent, but live gaming is far and away the biggest money-making avenue for EA. And just like Ubisoft, this fact went under the radar for far too long. Live gaming practices are what's holding this company together. So now that we know that, let's talk about the future of EA. The phenomenon of live gaming is both good and bad. It provides a platform for social interaction as well as a jumping off point for supporting a game post-release. But it's also brought with it many unwanted itches that people find hard to scratch. Many games release unfinished, leaning on the crutches of future development to complete them. The trend leads to games just not coming out the way they should be, and people getting burned, and of course, people getting very mad. So where do you draw the line with a live video game? Obviously there is some merit to releasing future game content to supplement a game, but it's been taken a little bit too far. Since EA is the big dog in the room, it sets the trend for other companies to enact the same behavior, and you don't even have to look that far back into time to grab an example. Case in point, Sea of Thieves and Microsoft. Often the live game is used as a blanket to cover up a release it now, fix it later, or add it in later video game. It's a troubling development cycle that is fueling EA's agenda in 2018, and we have clarified that through that little green bar. The internet and EA have, of course, a very feisty and tenacious relationship at the moment, and they've decided that it's time to go to war. Gamers across the world are asking people to boycott their games, but you know what? That might not be the right answer if you want to stick it to EA given the information that we previously went over. If you want to get even, or help steer them in the right direction, it's time to look at the facts and let that be the guidance. Avoid the endgame marketplace, tempting as it may be. Focus on that little green bar I showed you earlier, and do not let live gaming services get out of control if they're not done well. It's the untold story with EA, this fact that live gaming is now the #1 priority. It's also the more sinister application of when video games get taken just a little bit too far. So where do you draw the line in the sand with live gaming? It has to be at the execution, because live gaming is not the enemy, it's how people use it. Thanks for watching, guys, I really appreciate it. Let's support live gaming if it's done right, and EA if they do things right as well into the future. But absolutely do not partake in any of that if it is malicious. Have a great day, and we'll see you guys in our next video. Peace, love, and happiness. Till then.